it's very simple. The House Republicans have passed their Veterans Appropriations Bill. We passed it above the request of President Biden or whoever is drafting the president's requests at this hour. And the people that have had a lot to say in this chamber today, they all decided to vote no. They voted no for our veterans' health care. They voted no for opportunities to expand veterans' benefits. They did it for politics. They did it because it wasn't their idea. But this House Republican majority has funded the VA above and beyond President Biden's requests for the last 2 fiscal years, and we're very proud of that fact, and we will continue to do so.
Oh, my God, Mr. Speaker, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, to be honest with you, there's just so much there. First of all, let me just say, let me read from a letter that the Secretary of Defense sent to all of us here in Congress. He said, a 6-month CR would set us significantly behind in meeting our pacing challenge highlighted in our national defense strategy, the People's Republic of China. The PRC is the only global competitor with both the intent and capability to change the international order. The PRC does not operate under CRs. Our ability to execute our strategy is contingent upon our ability to innovate and modernize to meet this challenge, which cannot happen under a CR. Asking the Defense Department to compete with the PRC, let alone manage conflicts in Europe and the Middle East, while under a lengthy CR, ties our hands behind our back while expecting us to be agile and to accelerate progress. So that's what the Secretary of Defense sent to Congress. So Republicans are here with a bunch of fake anti-China bills that will never become law. But what they are actually doing is hurting our national security. This approach, your CR, is hurting our national security. And that's not just, the Secretary of Defense saying that. As I said earlier, the Republican chairman of the House Armed Services Committee has said it, and is why he's opposing the Republican CR. So let's get that straight.
Mr. Speaker, my colleagues across the aisle, they've expressed outrage over the inclusion of the SAVE Act in today's continuing resolution. But let's be clear. The American people overwhelmingly disagree with their position. According to 2022 YouGov poll, nearly 2/3 of Americans support requiring proof of citizenship to vote in elections. And even more telling, 48% of Democrats, yes, Democrats, agree that proof of U.S. citizenship should be required. In 2022, a Gallup poll further underscores this. 79% of Americans favor photo identification requirements to vote, and that includes 53% of Democrat voters. And just this year, the Pew Research Center found that 81% of Americans want all voters to show government-issued photo identification to cast a vote. 69% of Democrats back this common sense safeguard. Why won't they? That's a question. What are you afraid of to require someone to prove who they say that they are? These aren't poison pills. This isn't partisanship. They are overwhelmingly bipartisan views shared by a vast majority of common sense Americans. Yet my colleagues would rather cater to a fringe element in this country within their party than listen to the clear will of the American people. Instead of supporting reasonable safeguards to protect our elections and prevent foreign interference, they continue to block widely supported measures. They claim to be defenders against foreign interference in our election, yet today they turn their back on protecting the sanctity of the vote.
The other thing is, on this SAVE Act, it is true that a military ID alone is not sufficient to meet the criteria of your SAVE Act. So, and is that how we thank the men and women who serve our country? In fact, many Americans don't have the kind of identification required to be able to comply with the SAVE Act. But that's even beside the point, because as Republican after Republican have said that this is a gimmick, this is going nowhere, this is just a soundbite during an election. This is not real. This is all theater. That's not me saying it. It's Republican after Republican saying that. And in terms of helping our veterans, let me tell you, the Republicans keep talking about the $112 billion in the bill for VA care, but guess what? These dollars were already provided in last year's bill. Both VA and OMB say that these dollars are insufficient and that they need an additional $12 billion or our veterans' care will be affected. That is what has been said to Republicans and Democrats over and over again. This bill provides zero additional dedicated funding for vets with toxic exposures. Zero. And I don't understand why, when you were trying to fix some of the omissions in the manager's amendment that was put in the Rules Committee, why this could not have been added. These are our veterans. These are people who have served our country. These are people who have been exposed to toxic chemicals, who are battling with all kinds of illnesses and diseases. The least we can do is make sure the funding is there so they can get adequate health care. This bill provides none of that $12 billion. I don't understand what my Republican friends are thinking. We have 3 weeks left to ensure that our government doesn't shut down. 3 weeks. And instead of working with Democrats to keep the government open, what we have here is an awful, cynical, partisan, continuing resolution that has exactly zero chance of becoming law. Hell, as I said earlier, it may not even pass the Republican-controlled Congress. It's like Republicans won't even try to get the job done. They passed 4 appropriations bills out of 12. I mean, that's it. And they want a trophy for that. I mean, it is pathetic how little work has been done in this House. Again, they have sent a grand total of 4 appropriation bills to the Senate. Though listening to them last night at the Rules Committee, you would think that they had completed all their work and everything is wonderful. I mean, imagine thinking 30% was a passing grade. It's pathetic. At the end of the day, the Republican majority has failed the American people. And the Republican majority has failed the American people miserably. They want to condition keeping our government open on a Project 2025 pipe dream to disenfranchise millions of Americans at the ballot box. Let me be clear. The SAVE Act is not about targeting undocumented immigrants. It's about suppressing the vote of millions of American citizens. And again, I point out to what happened in the last election. The person who shall not be named by name lost, but didn't want to accept the loss, and instructed people to go out there and to submit fraudulent electors, and to try to fix stoke all these conspiracy theories. And multiple people are now under indictment for trying to overturn the legitimate results of the last election. The threat to our democracy, the threat to our election integrity is the Republicans. My friends are willing to rip $12 billion away from our sick veterans, all to play political games. What is wrong with them, Mr. Speaker? They're pursuing poorly written bad bills that are soft on China when we could be doing the real work, teaming up across the aisle to strengthen our national security. It is a joke. It is a joke. It's embarrassing. All they bring to the table is destruction, disruption, dysfunction, and the dystopian Project 2025. Every measure before us today is a bad deal. And I urge my colleagues to defeat the previous question so we can help our veterans. And I urge my colleagues to vote no on the rule and on the underlying bills. Mr. Speaker, we have to do better. If the government shuts down because of their dysfunction, real people in this country get hurt. So we need to come together and get our work done. Enough of this partisan garbage. With that, I yield back my time.